Welcome back to Can't Content, your essential podcast for all things content marketing in 2024. That is quite a claim, let me tell you. Today, we are thrilled to host Ryan. He's a seasoned B2B SaaS marketing executive with a decade of experience spanning industries like cybersecurity, DevOps, data observability. Woo, I need more coffee this morning. Currently, he's the CMO of DataBank.ai, which recently celebrated a noteworthy acquisition by IBM. Cheers to that. Good for you, man. Beyond his professional success, Ryan is also the creative mind behind Pancakes with Mr. Bear, a children's book that explores themes far deeper than its delightful breakfast setting. Today, we're diving into startup marketing best practices, product marketing, and the pivotal role content plays in these areas. Ryan, welcome to Cam Content.
Hey, Molly, appreciate that. That was a very nice introduction. I think it's like the best introduction I've gotten. I've done like 10 or so podcasts. I think that was the nicest one. Thank you. It's great.
Hey man, I'm available. You can hire me to open for you anywhere you go. You know what I mean? Well, I think it matters, right? A lot of times people just read whatever you send, and I'm like, no, I want to learn more about you. I went to your LinkedIn profile. I was having a good time with that. I went and looked at the book, got a little teary-eyed this morning. I'm like, okay, this guy's got some depth to him. I appreciate that. So I'm excited to chat with you this morning. Let's jump right in. Tell me a little bit about. I like to do a little Shark Tank-esque section where I just ask you details about the business. So, how long has DataBank been around? How many employees you got? What's the company snapshot?
Yeah, so DataBank's been around since 2018. And it was founded by three gentlemen, Victor, Evgeny, and Josh. And it all started from a problem that they saw in the data space, which was you have data engineering teams that are basically like the software developers, software engineers, back in the DevOps craze and the continuous delivery phase where the developers had all the power, right? It was, you got to hire as many software engineers as we can. Well, kind of what happened was in the last, especially with AI now, what's happened in the last 5-6 years is data has become the new oil, so to say, for the world. And so you need data to do everything. And data engineers are the ones that are taking the data, changing it, manipulating it, pushing the data to get it to the actual business to consume in either data products or reports or AI strategy they have today, LLM models, all that stuff. And they saw a need to help data engineers and data platform teams basically be more productive. And so what we came up with was a data observability platform that functions very similar to other solutions out there in the application observability space, like Datadog, New Relic, Instana, Dynatrace, all these companies that have been very successful. We just take that same concept about detecting issues earlier. So a data problem could happen in a data pipeline. Something could change you don't even expect to happen. There could be some downtime in a system that's consuming data you had no idea about. All that revolves around observing and monitoring and alerting when, in a lack of a better term, when crap hits the fan, right? When things break. So they don't run around trying to figure out where the issues are. So that was what came out in 2018. Since then, data observability has become a huge topic in around the data quality and data governance space. So it was on things like the Gartner Hype Cycle for data management innovation. It's gotten a lot of fanfare recently. It's probably one of the hottest topics in the data space today. And so, since 2018 to about now, there's probably been about 10 to 15 new companies that have emerged in that space. So really on the edge of kind of like a category creation at the time. And then in the last few years, as we built the go-to-market machine, gaining more market share, we had an opportunity to get acquired by IBM. And so that happened about a year ago. And now we're part of IBM's data fabric. And so we were actually the first company in the SARP space, in that data observability category, to have an exit and to be acquired. And obviously it was acquired by one of the most recognizable brands in the world. So kind of a cool story from 2018 all the way up until today.
So where do these work? Congratulations on that. That's amazing. That was probably a hefty experience, getting bought by such a big company. I can't imagine that was just like smooth sailing the whole time. So congratulations on many levels there. So how does all this data merge with being a CMO? Like where do those two worlds combine?
Yeah. Yeah, so you're talking about like the space in general, or just how do I use data as a CMO?
Yeah, in your personal journey, because you're a CMO at Data Band, right?
Mm.
So how is your intersection between looking at all this data and the marketing? Where does that intersect for you?
Yeah, so I mean, we have a lot of different go-to-market motions, right? So part of our go-to-market motion in DataBand, when we were first getting going, was we want to build a product-led growth model. So a part of that product-led growth model, there's people out there that say like, hey, you have to be all in on product-led growth. I'm not one of those people that say that, because of a lot of different reasons, which we can get into, but product-led growth in my space, I've done this at multiple other companies, is that you've got to have an offering that can easily be onboarded, and you can easily be tried and easily be purchased. The last part is the key part that I think a lot of people get too hung up on, is the purchasing part, for it to be successful. And so in all the companies that I've been a part of, the data that we look at from the PLG space is how many inbounds are we getting? How many of those inbounds are converting to a trial or interactive demo or a POC? And then from there, how many of those are going to convert? Very simple, right? It's very MQL to sales accepted to sales qualified to opportunity rejected or open, and so on, right? All those things kind of play into what I'm looking at on a daily basis, right? Our team is constantly looking at that as well for all these different and performance marketing, ways to get more inbounds and ways to get more people to come to us and actually try out the software, right? The second part of the data we're looking at is how can we then take not only just this PLG model, which is you get the product, try the product, and then decide to purchase the product. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to purchasing, if you're dealing in a highly complex space, the purchasing is going to be something that's going to go through, let's say, a procurement arm on the other side of the business, right? We're not selling a project management tool like Asana or Basecamp or Canva, right? It's a very technical product. And so when it comes to the purchasing part of it, the people that are actually using the product may not be able to just swipe their credit card and start using a data tool that connects in with sensitive data or connects in with, has to go through a firewall to connect in with things. There's a lot of more complexities, right, in a B2B enterprise sale. And so what we look at after that experience is done is, okay, how can we get our customers to then lead a purchasing decision to their upwards into their executive ranks, right? So what we do is we start with that PLG motion. We make sure the trial, the aha moments are there. And when we get to procurement, a lot of that when we get to procurement is a lot of making sure the sales team has the right capabilities in place to make the ROI case, to make the return on investment case, the total cost of ownership, all these things, so that then they can present a case to then the upper management for them to actually purchase the tool. Because you can't just go directly from, hey, I want to take this, I want to buy this tool and start running right away. We're getting to other
Okay.
models in the future where we'll be able to do that. But a lot of times, most of the use cases that we have are enterprise and they're complex. So you can't just spin something up, connect it, and then purchase it and continue going.
That reminds me. I saw an article or something on LinkedIn that said the average sales cycle on an enterprise account is like 11 months or something like that, which sounds about right, especially in a space like yours because of all that sensitive data. Like you said, you can't just connect it right away. So who are your ideal clients? Probably very large companies, then I would imagine.
Yeah, so the majority of our customers, from a company standpoint, large customers, yes, because obviously we're now part of IBM. We have access to a lot of customers in the enterprise space. But besides that, what we look for is we don't just look for, hey, are they a big company and can they buy the product? Like, okay, like if everyone did that, then I think that there would be no need for an ideal customer profile. Our ideal customer profile are modern data engineering teams or platform teams. They're using a lot of different technologies, not just IBM technologies, not just Microsoft technologies, not Google, not wherever the latest and greatest tool that's out there today in the data space. Which seems like there's one that pops up every hour. It seems like with a new solution. We look for people that are using a multitude of modern technologies. Could be more of a heterogeneous mixture of different technologies they have. A lot of open source. So a lot of, are they part of the Apache Foundation? Are they using things like Python for coding their pipelines? And then are they producing products that are more data product oriented, right? So we have one of our customers is a company that's in the sports betting world, right? So they, at the end of the day, all their data feeds into a consumer app that is going to be used for sports betting. And so in that particular customer's case, they have hundreds of, thousands and thousands of different pipelines that are pushing this data. So in that complex environment, the end of the day, their goal is to serve the customer, to make sure that the end user, like me, I'm in Atlanta, so I can't bet in Georgia, so we can't bet on a sports app. But if I did have a sports betting app, right, and I was able to bet on that, I'm their ultimate customer, right? So they want to make sure that there's no data downtime as it relates to the customer, and that the customer is getting the most accurate data, so they can actually make the most logical bets that they want on their device.
Man, this is a pretty complicated topic. There's a lot of information. How did you end up in this space? Is this something you've been doing for a long time? I mean, how did,
Yeah, I mean,
very specific.
Yeah, so I've always been in the B2B, like I would call it like the business to business, SaaS, technical sale environment, right? So I've never worked at a B2C company. I've always worked in companies that are trying to sell to the enterprise. I got started at a company called CGI when I was back in 2012, I guess, 11. And I was working as a tester on software. So I was a consultant where I was just testing software that was being released by development. And then I took that knowledge and actually moved to actually be a part of a company that was selling testing software. And that was a company called QA Symphony that later became merged with a company called Tricentis, which is a $330 million company now. And the reason why I got into that space was because they were looking for somebody that had technical expertise in the space. And from there, I also, found out that I was the subject matter expert on all things related to testing in that company. So I was doing webinars and writing data sheets and helping the marketing team with messaging and positioning and all the things that you would need to lean on for a marketing person to understand the space. And so that's how I got into product marketing. And then from product marketing, I moved into content and product marketing. And then I moved into running all of marketing over at DataBank. So that's my quick overview of like how I got into the tech space.
Well, that reminds me. I noticed on your LinkedIn you wrote an article recently about why you should hire a product marketer as your next CMO, and I read it and I thought that's really interesting because product marketers are a little scrappier, right, and probably taking in a lot of that data and information because it's just a whole different world. So I thought that was really interesting. Is that what you recommend? Like, I also noticed you wrote about starting on a small budget, like marketing SaaS companies. If you had to give one piece of advice to a SaaS company with a small budget, would it be to hire a product marketer as a CMO, or what would you advise people?
Well, I always tell people whenever they come to me and ask me for if they're looking for their first marketing hire, that's not just like a pure digital marketer, is to go after somebody that's in product marketing, and specifically somebody who's in product marketing that wants to then take over all the function of marketing. And the reason why I say that is because, and in the article I talk about this, but if your go-to-market machine, if your go-to-market machine includes, obviously it's going to include marketing and sales and partners and all these people, right? Well, product marketing is basically the glue that makes everything work. And so when people talk about like hiring a full stack software engineer, right? They want an engineer that can do all these different things, right? I would say product marketing is like a full stack marketer. And being a full stack marketer means that you understand all the different assets that are facets of the business that are in marketing, but also sales because you work directly with them. And so in that article, I make the case that if the go-to-market machine is a car and it's driving on the road, and it's driving on a highway in the desert, it's pretty smooth, right? There's no changes probably need to be made. You're doing things and paid media, and you're writing content, and you're doing emails. You're like, okay, everything's great, right? But think about like if that car has to go down a mountainside and it's raining outside and it's dark and you don't know where to go. The market's changing. New competitor enters the space. Pricing is now an issue. Well, product marketing is basically the lights that are on the car that guide that go-to-market team to get out of the storm, right? So every single company that I've been at in product marketing, when I've worked with demand gen is heavily reliant on product marketing because, and this is not a knock on demand gen. I've worked with amazing demand gen teams, and I think the best functioning demand gen team is somebody who's led by a really good product marketer because they do all the tactics. Like they're the ones that are setting up the ABM programs. They're the ones that are setting up the events, or someone's setting up the emails, or someone's setting up the nurtures, or setting up the website and the web copy, right? But if they don't know the product or understand the industry, they have to always go to a subject matter expert to understand, like, hey, what's our messaging for this booth? What are we going to show at the booth? What are the demos we're going to show? Hey, we're talking about this particular capability of the product. Like, I don't understand the product. Can you explain how this works? Going out for ABM, there's all these accounts that we have. Do these fit our ICP? Do they fit our ideal customer profile? Are these keywords that we want to trigger a buying intent? Do they match what our customers are looking for? All those things, they go to usually a product marketer for those questions. And so if the product marketer isn't good at being that subject matter expert in the product, in the field, and also understanding what sales is doing, then the demand gen team isn't going to be set up for success. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think, and you see it a lot. You see it a lot in like disjointed activities or marketing, or, the larger the company, like one hand has no idea what the other hand is doing. And it's like, completely different messaging. And, the designer has one idea and the data has another idea. And, it's probably a little more cohesive in some of these bigger companies, but maybe also even worse, right? Because you get to these huge sizes, it's really hard to keep that together. So that seems really smart to me, is find somebody who has all the information. I feel like this whole space is changing so much, and not just from the data and the tech and the AI, but just how people are marketing, what people are getting sick of. I mean, it's pretty fascinating to see like AI on LinkedIn with all the spam comments and now all those AI prompts, and then people responding with AI written content. And it's like, we're all adjusting so rapidly at this point. 6 months ago, we were identifying bad AI pictures by like multiple fingers, by too many fingers. And now look at us. We can spot fake pictures. We can spot fake content almost immediately. And I think our whole marketing and data world is changing because people are changing. The world has changed. The things that worked before don't work anymore. And I think that's going to change by the hour at this point. So I think taking a different kind of approach to who you're hiring makes a lot of sense. What is something that a company can do to kind of implement some of these tactics, in their business this year, to boost that acquisition and retention? What are some things a company could do?
Well, so from a PLG motion, I mean, most of the stuff that you want to focus on is the experience that's in the application, right? So, I mean, in our application, we have things like, hey, how can you showcase certain products that are in the actual system that you may have access to and don't have access to intrigue the brain that, oh, maybe I need to upgrade, or maybe I want to look into a cross sell for this other product that I didn't know it was a part of what I currently have. There's things like adding it for retention, adding in things like banners and CTAs that talk about like what's new in the product, tours and videos that showcase like, here's the new latest thing that we have. Here's some thought leadership that we have as well, like to make sure that this company, or that your customer is actually a part of a company that's pushing things forward and is not just rolling out small features here and there. They're actually leading in the space. Things like that, I think, are really good to make sure that the customer, when they're in the product, actually understands different paths they can take to either upsell or get in different tiers or be more sticky to the actual product. From a like a more sales led motion that we've seen and how marketing works there is that we've been doing a lot of things as it relates to third-party validation of what we're speaking about. So in the past, it was, hey, let's get a bunch of analyst reports, which we still do, and a lot of enterprises are always going to look at analyst reports to see how well you're doing in those, like Gartner and Forrester and Everest and all these other ones that are out there. But what we've been doing though is we've been partnering with a lot of third-party content creators that are on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Substack, on Medium, on these other areas that when they write pieces of content, their audience looks at them as being unbiased, which they are, and they give their fair assessment of what they're experiencing. And so, getting back to like how things have changed, right? People want to look at other people for that validation versus going to a quote unquote expert in the space like an analyst to get that information, right? They want the bottoms up, not the top down. The top down could be, a huge company, Fortune 500 company that wants to look at, the latest and greatest report that's from Gartner, which is obviously very important that we make sure that we're hitting all the capabilities for the enterprise, right? But from a bottoms up approach and more of a PLG motion where you start with more of the users and grow those users, they're not going to usually not going to look at an analyst report. They're going to look at what does a review site say? Which again, that can get a little spammy as well. But what are their peers saying? Like, what are the people they actually trust? Oh, they mentioned DataBank, they mentioned data observability, they mentioned the fact that this is a good topic to pay attention to. They're gonna validate that more through them than a analyst report they may not even have access to.
Yeah, I mean, the customer is not reading analyst reports, that's for sure, right? They're, which sometimes, I mean, that's a valid point. I think when you have all this data and all these smart people working, you're like, this is what it is. But then sometimes the customer's like, actually, what I really love is this, or I don't understand this. But if you're not talking, if you're not getting that information, if you're not talking to people using it, then how could you possibly know? So I think that's an important step to not miss. All right, let's do a couple speed round questions. What's one marketing tool that you can't live without?
This isn't really a marketing tool, but it's a tool I've used since 2014. So maybe it is a marketing tool. It's a very simple tool. It's called Snagit from TechSmith.
I'm writing this down.
And also their Camtasia, which is videos. Creates videos, things like that. The reason why I say these things is because like they're things that are outside of we have HubSpot and Marketo and SalesLoft and Salesforce and all the other things. Like, yes, you need all those things. I'm talking about like personally for me, when I've been able to create short form content and quick content for people or call out something or highlight something or making a presentation, Snagit and Camtasia have been the two things that I've used that supercharge quick content creation that I don't need to go to my designer for, and I can just do it really quickly myself. And I've used them. I've had those solutions since like 2014, so I'm going on 10 years now.
Shout out to Snagit and Cam. I've heard of Camtasia, but I've never heard of Snagit, so I'm definitely checking.
Snagit's just like a snipping tool. You can do quick videos on it. You can quickly call out things. It's just great for everyday use of quickly grabbing things and showing people kind of what's going on.
And sometimes you really got to be in the moment. Like I have a full team and full, video editing, but sometimes I just do stuff myself because I'm like, I'm in the moment. I want to grab it. It matters right now. It'll be relevant right now. It'll take me 20 minutes and then I can get it out on the platform I want, not bog down my, my high-end video editor with something I could do on an app or, something like that, Okay, LinkedIn or Twitter?
LinkedIn.
Have you ever been on? Have you ever had a presence on Twitter? Did that just weren't there, or did you leave when you?
I was on Twitter, and then the reason why I left Twitter was because I felt like I was just like doom scrolling on Twitter, and I was like, okay, I can't have Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram. Like one of them's, I got to get rid of one of them.
One of them's got to go.
And I went through a purge in my life where I was like, I unfollowed everybody I'm still friends with people on Facebook, but unfollowed everybody except for like my neighborhood. so I can know if like
Right.
something's going wrong in my neighborhood. I just like got tired of constant feeds and
The
stuff, and
noise.
I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay on. Obviously, LinkedIn's the best one for professionals and staying connected with people. I can't really give that one up.
Yeah, I'm a LinkedIn girl too over Twitter. We have a huge following. I have like 10,000 followers on Twitter, but we
Nice.
just sort of abandoned it like a beached ship. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
hey, it's kind of whatever. What is one? What's your favorite book if you were going to recommend it, other than Pancakes with Mr. Bear, of course?
So favorite fictional book is the series called Red Rising. That's by Pierce Brown. It's basically a mixture of like Star Wars, Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, like all that kind of mixed together. And there's like 6 books now, I think.
Nice.
I just finished the last one. That's probably my favorite fictional book.
That's super cool. I like that. And then what about like a business book?
Business book. I think it's called Making of a Manager or Making a Manager. I think her name is Kate. I can't remember her last name. Really good book. It's all about like first time managers. So I gave that book to a lot of my employees, my teammates. And one of the guys, Ryan Sanders, who's was my last company, Key Factor. He says he's read it like twice because now he's managing more people and he just wants to keep it as a refresher. It's a really easy book to read, but it's about her journey at Facebook as like a brand new manager and the things she's learned along the way. I think that's a really good book. And then Rework by Jason Fried and David Hanson, I think his last name is. That's a really quick snippet book of just like how to rethink work. And I think those were the guys that founded Basecamp, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, nice.
But
They were ahead of their time when they came out with that bad boy.
yeah.
That's for sure.
Oh yeah. There's another book called Neuroselling, which I liked. That was a pretty good book. And then I'm reading a book right now called Build, which is by the guy, I can't remember his name. I should know his name, but he was the guy that basically created the iPod. And he created Nest. So very successful guy. It's a really good book too.
Very cool. I love that you gave like 4 or 5 books because I'm about that life too. I am a big reader. Although my brother's an author and he says that I don't read books because I listen to them on Audible, but I'm like, whatever. Yeah. Take your classes in someplace else.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I retain stuff more when I hear it anyway. So
same. And I'm an active listener. Like if I've weighed off, I rewind it and listen to it again because what's the point? I'm not just playing books in my ear to somehow absorb it, right? You know, I got to pay attention. I think one of my favorites is the One-Page Marketing Plan. Have you ever read that by Alan Dibb? It's like another one that it's like super old, but it's so relevant. It's like just the core principles of like customer service, follow up and all that. And then the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John C. Maxwell. That's one that I read. I went on this mission and I read like 150 books in 3 years about business development, leadership, and well, I recognized there were some serious gaps in my education. I had run a company that was like successful from the outside, but it was just behind the curtain. It was me pushing this boulder uphill that was going to roll back on me and kill me the second I stopped.
Yeah.
And so everybody thought I was super smart, but I was not, you know? And so I was like, well, I better fix this. And I felt that was the best method. But I've gotten to the point now where I'm rereading books and studying books that were really impactful instead of looking for more. Because at some point you just sort of tap out, but I'm excited to get some new recommendations because I haven't read any of these books. So thanks for that.
That's good. Yeah. Let me know if you like any of them.
Yeah, I definitely will. All right. And then we'll do this segment real quick and then we'll go. I'm going to read a couple podcast names and you tell me if they're real or fake. So are you ready?
Okay.
All right. The Slogan Slammers.
Real?
Fake. All right.
We can do this.
The Bean Cast.
Real?
It is. I can't even say half of these with a straight face.
Are these all marketing podcasts? Or
these are all marketing podcasts, yes. Bounce Rate Ballads.
Fake.
That's a good name though. I kind of like it. All right, and then one more. Marketing Over Coffee.
That's real.
That's a real one, yeah. As you know that one? Sometimes I'm
No.
like, people are gonna know these, and then it
Oh,
ruins
but
my whole
anytime
plan.
there's like coffee in the tagline, I feel like that's an easy go-to for podcasting. I did a video on data-driven decisions in coffee that I did a whole video on data observability and how it relates to making a cup of coffee in the morning. We showed me making coffee and things like that. So anything with coffee in it, I feel like has some marketing spin on it.
It's a win. It's a win. Yeah, I couldn't believe that the Beancast was real. I'm curious. I have to Google that and find out. It must be a coffee
That could be. I
company.
bet that's a coffee thing too, right? It's like get your like let's cast over a coffee bean or something.
Oh my God, interesting. No, it's just a marketing podcast. It's not from a company. I thought for sure it would be like a coffee or a black bean, like Tio Tio Polone or something. I live in Costa Rica, so we have a lot of
Yeah, yeah.
bean companies here. That would make sense. Tell me about where the inspiration to write that, because I'm trying to see where this data guy and Mr. Bear intersect, you know?
Yeah, the inspiration was, so I have three girls, and the inspiration came from the fact that I was reading them the same stories over and over again at bedtime, and so I was kind of tired of doing that. And so I was like, let me just start making up stuff. And so I started to just make up this story about this bear that lived behind this family, and he smelled pancakes every day, and he starts to get angry, and he goes and confronts them. Is basically what the story is about. This and well, the story is really about loneliness and making time for people that are lonely into your family time. Spoiler alert: everything ends up being okay, and they all become friends. But
Yeah, yeah,
surprise, surprise, the bear doesn't eat the kids
yeah.
or anything. Surprise, surprise. But the story is basically about it's about that. But what I would do is I would tell parts of the story to Rosalie or Winnie, and I would gauge their interactions of like how they respond to certain things. And so I would retell it, maybe change out certain things. And then when I got down to, I felt like it was a whole story, I was like, oh, this seems like I feel like I could make a book out of this. And so I wrote it on the way to a happy hour to my one of my companies in the back of an Uber, and I wrote it on a Google Doc, just wrote it all out, and
Hey.
reached out to a graphic design guy named Jordy Tenali. Shout out to him, really good graphic designer in the space. Reached out to him and I was like, hey man, do you do children's books? He's like, yeah, I can do anything. I'm a graphic designer. I'm like, all right, cool. So
Yeah.
so we put together a contract and we wrote it together. I wrote it and he did the illustrations, and we went back and forth on like how to do it. And on my LinkedIn, I have, in my articles, I have 3 posts that talk about like how I did it, the process that I went through, and there's some YouTube videos as well on us like just talking about it. So it was a labor of love. I didn't do it to make any money. Like I haven't made any money off
Right,
of it,
right.
obviously, unless we blow it up or anything like that. But it was just a fun project to do, and it was cool to include my girls in it, and they were really excited about it.
I love it. That's super. How old are your girls?
Now they're 8, almost 7, and then I have a 1-year-old. So
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. Ooh, the 2 that are a year apart. That's a whole thing. I'm
yeah,
the youngest of 4, so there's a lot of dynamics happening in the age difference.
yeah.
That 1 year,
Well, yeah,
they're like
the
partners in
one,
crime.
yeah, the 2, Winnie and Rosalie, they are like a year and like,
Oh,
no wait, they're 15 months apart, so that's like a year and 3 months, right? Um, so they're almost like twins. I feel like they're very close in age. They're best friends, and then they're enemies, at
yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah. 50-50 for
Yeah,
sure.
so they kind of, it's just the way it works. But no, I mean they're growing up too fast, honestly. Like, they're a lot of fun, and really enjoy hanging out with them. And Juliet's the 1-year-old. She's a lot of fun too. Good sleeper, so that's always good. And you have a third.
Yeah, well, for sure. Well, Garen, our engineer who's behind the scenes right now, he has 2 boys that are also like 15 months apart. And I mean, they even look like twins.
Yeah,
My brothers are the same age difference. And definitely they had some friction growing up. But even now, as full grown adults, I mean, they're each other's best friend.
yeah,
They talk all the time. My sister and I, not so much because there's 3.5 years between us, and that, but in high school and grade school, that was enough of a difference. It felt like another planet, but my brothers are still very close. So I would imagine your girls will do the same.
yeah.
But That's super cool. Well, thanks for sharing all that with me. I love that, and I hope people buy the book. And I love that you're just creating different stories because a lot of it is so bad, and I'm sure you recognize that these stories are for girls. They're like, wait for a man to save
Yeah.
you. It's like, oh, awesome, great, excellent storyline.
Well, it's like we talked about
Um,
earlier. It's a story that's been done over and over again, right? So I mean, like you can I'd be hard to write another princess story. I feel like there's a thousand of those. So they got enough of those stories.
Yeah, enough of that, because I've been waiting my whole life, still not a princess. You know what I mean? Like I was sold a lie. I should sue Disney.
Yeah.
I never watched that stuff. I was a tomboy growing up, but still, where's my prince? Where's my savior? But well, listen, Ryan, I don't want to take any more of your time, but this was super interesting, like I said. And for any larger companies who are listening to this, what's the best place for them to reach you?
Yeah, reach me. I mean, go on LinkedIn. It's just my name, Ryan Yackel /Ryan Yackel. So happy to talk to anybody. I'm happy to talk to anybody about anything we do in marketing, anything that I've seen successful here or even at previous startups as well. Love connecting with people. So I had a mentor or somebody I'm mentoring reach out to me recently. We're going to meet up again to talk about new things we're working on in marketing, and then recently somebody reached out to me and I just had a Zoom call with them just to talk about my journey. So happy to do any of those things with anybody to encourage people.
That's awesome. That's really nice of you. And I would encourage people to follow Ryan on LinkedIn because his content is funny and interesting and helpful and relevant. And it's a nice break from some of the other accounts out there. So, on that note, thanks for joining us today. Thanks for tuning into Camp Content. If you found this content valuable, please comment, like, share, make fun of us, do whatever it takes, but leave us a message on LinkedIn. And of course, hit up Ryan. He's got lots of great information. And that was a really generous offer of him. So, until next time, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one.
Thanks, Molly.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Camp Content. This is Molly.
And this is Matt.
And we are Heartcast Media, aka Camp Content, and we appreciate all of your support. If you found this content valuable, please comment on social media, LinkedIn, wherever you find us, and we will make sure to comment back.
And be sure to go on and subscribe and like on your favorite platforms, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, you name it. Leave us that subscription, leave us that good review.
We'll love you forever. So until next time, be excellent to each other, and we'll see you next week.
Produced by Heartcast Media.
Thank you for tuning into Camp Content, hosted by Heartcast Media. We are a digital content agency focused on content marketing for businesses and brands. If you're looking to save time and be more consistent with your marketing and need a little guidance on what to say and how to say it and where to say it, we got your back. Book a discovery call today and let's talk.